welcome to Frontline City. Let me move that microphone a little bit closer. There we go. How are you doing? My name is Matt Edmondson, and it's great that you're here. I get to run and smack my microphone all at the same time. I get to run Frontline City, our online church, and it's a real privilege to do that. It's great that you're here. Yes, we are an online church. Can you believe it? One of the things that's come out of COVID is this whole let's do online church really well kind of thing. And so we're learning in that. We'd love to know your feedback and your thoughts and any comments and suggestions on how we could do it better, because, you know, why not, right? Now, it doesn't matter where we meet. It doesn't matter how we meet, just the fact that we meet and get together. So it is really, really great that you're here with us, and really appreciate you taking the time out on your Sunday afternoon to be here. Now, I know many of you who watch the Facebook live stream and the corresponding, we put the videos from Facebook Live onto YouTube as well. And we know that many of you, from the stats that we get to see, that many of you watching this are new to Frontline City and are possibly quite new to church. So let me just give you a little bit of context. We are part of Frontline Church. We are based here in Liverpool, England, and we just want to help inspire you about Jesus and just how amazing he is. We just look at what it means, you know, what Jesus taught, and what does that mean in everyday practical life living. That's what we want to get into. So please feel at home with us. Now, if you are watching this live, of course, you can join in using the comments below the live stream. I'm going to press this little button on my pad here. So just to let you, I'll move here, look. Just to encourage you, just to say hi, just to let us know where you're watching this from. Be great to hear from you. Let us know what you think. Ask your questions. We love to get in debates. You know, this is a safe space to ask questions. No question is a crazy question. That's for sure. So please do get involved. Get involved in the conversation. Get involved in the comments. Just please do it respectfully. That's all we ask. So just stick with that rule. Simple as. If you're watching the replay of the live stream, then you can still use the comments and pop them below the video, as we do monitor them and try and join in the conversations post live stream if we can. You can also message us on WhatsApp. And if I bring this screen back, there we go. You can see on the screen, look at that down there. That's just weird. You can see the WhatsApp number shown on the screen, and you can get in touch with us that way as well. Now, what many folks do during the live stream is, well, in the past, they've sent us photographs of how they're actually watching the live stream or what they're doing right now. So why don't you do that? Grab your phone, take a photo, show us how you're watching the live stream right now. Just be warned, I'm probably going to show them on the live stream if you do. Okay, but please send those photos through. We love to see them. Okay, so just let us know how you're watching the live stream. It'd be great to see it. Okay, and like I say, you can do that with this WhatsApp number down in the bottom, because we all need an excuse for a selfie, right? We're just part of that generation. Okay, so make sure you do like, comment, and share. Get involved. If you're happy to do so, why not share out this live stream on your Facebook feed? Just let folks know you're watching it and just invite them to come join us, because it's always great to meet new people and to reach out to new folks around the world. Always love doing that. Okay, so let me tell you what is coming up in today's live stream. After this welcome, we're going to jump pretty much straight into today's talk, which is by Jack Mariner, the amazing Jack Mariner. And he's going to ask the question, is it okay to get angry? We're going to look at that, which is quite interesting, isn't it? And after that, we're going to have a brief time of worship, which I'll explain more later what that is, so don't panic about that. Then we're going to have this week's notices and this week's very short catch-up video. We're going to have that later with the aim of finishing somewhere between 4:45 and 5 p.m, somewhere around there. So that'd be great if you just sort of join in. So like I say, like, comment, share, and post your comments below. It's always great. So what have we got going on here? We've got Matt Crew, of course, who's on the broadcast. Hey, Matt. Now, Matt's had what can we call it? An impressive haircut. Let's just put it that way. Matt has had an impressive haircut this week. So I'll be showing you that in the notices section later, because he sent me a photograph of it. And like I say, disclaimer, send me a photo. There is a chance I could use it on the live stream. So, hey, Matt, hope you're doing well. I see in your little photo there, let me put that again on the broadcast. See Matt's little photo, he's hugging a little baby, which is cute, with a Union Jack pillow behind it. Awesome. And Sharon says hi as well, which is sweet. So let us just get involved in the comments. Let us know where you are and what is going on. Right. We are, without further ado, going to jump straight into the talk. I'm quite keen that we get into the talks sooner, which is why we're playing them sooner. If you're used to the stream, you're kind of like, oh, the talks get in sooner and sooner. And this is very deliberate. One, it stops people being late. And two, it means that if you're new to the feed, you're not kind of waiting to hang around to see what's going to happen. You just kind of get jumped into it straight away, which is kind of cool. So two things. Let me tell you two things before we get into the talk. Number one, the chap chatting with us today is Mr. Jack Mariner himself. Now, if you are new to City, or if you're new to Frontline, you may not know who Jack is. And actually, Jack, I think this is Jack's first time with us on the City feed, so it's great to have him with us. I've known Jack for a while now. He is a great guy. Lovely, lovely family, beautiful wife, beautiful kids. And the thing I love about Jack is he's just so cool. He's just like, you know, he's uber cool. He's such a cool guy. And he works for Frontline, the church, and he gives a lot to the church. So, you know, it's great that he can do this with us. He's actually quite wise. I don't think he'd tell you that, in a humble kind of way. So a lot of respect for him, and I know it's going to be good. So make sure you grab your pen and your paper and your notebooks before we jump in. Before I jump onto the second thing, apparently that was Sophia. She was 5 yesterday. So I take it that photo is 5 years old because she looks very new in that photo. Happy birthday, Sophia. I hope it was a beautiful day. And Josh is here all the way from St. Andrews. Hey, son, how are we doing? Okay, so we've got Jack sharing with us, and we're going to be talking about Mark's Gospel. Well, Jack's going to be talking through Mark's Gospel. To give you a little bit of background, if this is your first time with us, we have been working our way through a book in the New Testament called Mark, the Gospel of Mark. And Mark is, he's one of the four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And the Gospels kind of chronicle Jesus's life. They give us like insight into the life of Jesus. Now, you have some books like the Gospel of John, where John was a disciple, but Mark wasn't, you see. Mark was a disciple of Peter, who was one of Jesus's original disciples, right? And so it's a really interesting account from Mark because he just kind of gets straight into it. And it's very much got Peter's slant on it in the way he writes. But he kind of talks very succinctly, Mark. He just, no messing around. He's almost Yorkshire. Do you know what I mean? If you're English, you'll know what I mean. Yorkshire, they're blunt and to the point, straight there, no messing. That's Mark in this gospel. And we've been working our way through, and it's been awesome just sort of looking at the life of Jesus and trying to figure out practically, you know, the context and what that means for us today. Well, Jack is going to do a phenomenal job of carrying us on in Mark's gospel. And we've got to a stage called the temple clearing, right? So this is going to be Jack talking about, is it okay to be angry? So without further ado, I'm just checking my little notepad here. I am going to bring Jack onto the screen.
Well, hello everyone. How you're doing? It is great to join today. My name's Jack, and I'm going to be sharing some thoughts on Mark's Gospel, this passage in chapter 11, looking at the life of Jesus. I want to start by throwing out this question. And this question is, when was the last time you got angry? I mean, like really angry, lost it. You know, something might have happened to you. Maybe something didn't happen to you, and you just got absolutely livid. Can you remember that time? What happened? Was it this morning? Was it a month ago, a year ago? Maybe if you've got little kids in the house, then they're at that point, the terrible 2s and 3s, like one of my children, you kind of lose it quite often. right? Or maybe that's just me. I smile. But the thing is with anger, it's a bit of a funny emotion, isn't it? We all experience anger, and it's this natural emotion. But so often, what we do with our anger, what we say and our actions that follow can lead us to doing things that make us feel absolutely rubbish. Guilt and shame can follow if we don't control our anger. Maybe we lash out, maybe we say something, maybe we did something that hurt us or someone else. You get me? You follow me? Thing is, when we don't know how to control and manage our anger, it can be really harmful. And this passage today, we listen in and we read in and we can imagine the scene. It's a shocking scene that we're looking at. It's Jesus, God himself, getting angry. Did you hear that? God himself got angry. There's no doubt about it. You know, we're just going to look at the 5 verses here but today, and yet there's so much to think about and learn about, that no matter where you are in your thinking of God, your relationship with Jesus, whether you're just watching as a first kind of friends invite you to watch this, there's going to be so much here to have a think about. So do get your notebooks out or write a comment, any questions you've got. We'd love to have a conversation and we'd love to hear from you. So we're going to dive straight in, Mark 11, and it's from chapter 15. It's called Cleansing the Temple. Jesus clears and cleanses the temple. Verse 15, on reaching Jerusalem, Jesus entered the temple courts and began driving out those who were buying and selling there. He overturned the tables of the money changers and the benches of those selling doves, and would not allow anyone to carry merchandise through the temple courts. And as he taught them, he said, is it not written, my house will be called a house of prayer for all nations, but you have made it a den of robbers. The chief priests and the teachers of the law, the religious dudes, heard this and began looking for a way to kill him, for they feared him, because the whole crowd was amazed at his teaching. Verse 19, when evening came, they went out of the city. There's no doubt about it. God here has got angry. Jesus himself gets angry and clears the temple. It's a fascinating passage. It's an iconic moment, isn't it? You know, we see this raw emotion from Jesus. It's quite shocking and startling as he looks to cleanse the temple, driving out those who are doing business. And I think it's shocking in a number of ways. You know, I've got to admit this was one of the, not my favourite passages, but I've always loved it growing up because it shows that Jesus is human. It shows that he's like us. It shows he's got emotions like us. And you know, it's not so much the selling in the temple, that what was happening here was the worst thing that was happening around Jesus at the time, but it was where they were doing it and what they were supposed to be doing in that place. That's what really got to him. He's in the temple, and that's what really gets to him, what they are doing there. And this emotion showed by Jesus to those, you know, apparently harmless retailers would have been an absolute shock to everyone, including the religious people, but also his disciples who hadn't seen this side of him very much. They would have been like, oh wow, steady on. You know, what's happening here? So it's really crucial we really understand it. Did Jesus get angry? And was it okay for him to get angry? Well, first, I want us to think about anger. I did an anatomy degree over a decade ago, and I want us to think about anger as an emotion. You know, one of the times I've struggled in the past is on the football pitch. I absolutely love football, but I'm also extremely competitive. I love to find a way to win fairly, but sometimes if someone fouls me a couple of times or accuses me of cheating, You know, if the scores are a little bit controversial and I say, look, it's 3-2, and someone says, no, it's not, it's 4-2, and I said, Jack, you're cheating. My reaction can be one of immediate anger. Everything in me wants to leave a leg in on him. My heart starts to pump faster, my face turns red. I want to shout at that player, no. You know, am I the only one here?
You can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious!
We all have things that really get on our wit. We all have things that make our blood boil, don't we? But have you ever asked yourself, have you ever thought, what happens to your body when you get angry? What is actually taking place in that moment? What is actually going on? So I want us to think about that before we get back into this text, because very simply speaking, you've got your upper brain and your lower brain. You know, the upper part of your brain is where you have reason, rational thinking, and your lower brain has this thing called the amygdala. Don't worry, this anatomy lesson will last another 30 seconds. But the amygdala is this compartment of the brain that processes information related to your emotions. And it triggers specific reactions in your body. Okay, so for example, and this is one that we've all heard of, the adrenaline rush. It's when something startles you, when something happens to you and you get scared or you get angry. You're on the football pitch or you're in a car driving and someone cuts you up. And your brain sends chemicals to your whole body, blood pumping to your muscles. It's where the term fight or flight comes from. And your body's reacting, it prepares you to respond. That's a very common one, isn't it? Okay, end of biology lesson. Thank you for bearing with me. So let's get back to Jesus. Okay, I think with Jesus, his lower brain reacts. That's like the basic part of your brain. It reacts. It's also where breathing is stimulated and your most basic functions come from the lower brain. He's angry that the temple is not as it should have been. But he not only engages his lower brain, he engages his upper brain. And that is important, that integration happens between these two. And I'll come back to linking that later. But for a minute, let's explore why Jesus got so angry and why that was okay. Okay, what we need to understand, as with any passage in the Bible, whatever we're reading, whenever we look at a passage in Scripture, Old Testament or New Testament, we look at the context, yeah? So for Jesus, the temple has a very special significance. You may know the story of Jesus at 12. We read in Luke chapter 2 that in the temple, it was a place of teaching and instructions, and Jesus spent time there reading and talking to people about the scriptures, debating its meaning, and people were wowed. Here, he hones in on the purpose of the temple as being a place for prayer, doesn't he? He says that it is a house of prayer for all nations, not buying and selling goods. And so what Jesus saw of the temple was not fitting with what he really knew its purpose was. And so this action of getting angry and responding by physically clearing out the temple, it serves as a symbol, if you like, of the need for change, a need for reform. This was a symbolic moment in the time that Jesus lived. He needed to communicate, this is not as it should be. And what was that reform? Well, he's quoting from the Old Testament to point out what was missing. And he says, doesn't he? He says, it is written, my house shall be called a house of prayer for all nations. But you have made it a den of robbers. In other words, what Jesus is trying to communicate and what's at the root of his raw emotion and great response, I'd say, is that the temple is to be a house of prayer. It's to be a place where people relate to God. That's what the whole passage is about. It's about prayer. And, you know, at its simplest form, prayer is relationship with God, isn't it? It's communion, it's connection with the Father. That's what Jesus understood. That's his practice. And here, people's lack of prayer was concerning to Jesus. And it was a symptom that their worship, which is something else that happened at the temple, it had become a ritual. Let us consider, wherever we're watching, are we operating when we come to God with faith or with religion? Do we think about, am I good enough to get into heaven, or am I good enough to relate to God? Is it rules that we think about, or do we think about, wow, this is a loving God who loves me, and we think primarily about relationship with this God who created us? You know, I remember someone once saying that worship isn't worship if it doesn't bring us closer to God. Whatever we do in worship and in prayer, it's got to bring us closer to God. And the lack of this understanding about this crucial, fundamental point absolutely outraged Jesus. It's shocking. And there are a few other times where we actually see this sort of anger throughout the Bible. And one other occasion was where Jesus asked the religious leaders if it was okay to heal a person on the Sabbath day. And when they didn't know how to respond, and they wouldn't answer, would they? And we're told, it's Mark 3 verse 5, we're told he looked around at them with anger, and then he goes on to heal a man. And again, Jesus is angry about the attitudes of those who are saying they know about religion and about God and about prayer, the religious teachers who claim to know about the law, and yet actually they care more about themselves than whether a person was healed. So, yes, Jesus was angry at times. God got and gets angry. And yet in the book of Hebrews, chapter 4, verse 15, we read that Jesus did not sin. He got angry and yet he did not sin. And likewise, we are taught in Ephesians 4:26, be angry and do not sin. So anger, this funny emotion, is often viewed as a completely negative emotion, isn't it? But there are times a person can get angry for appropriate reasons. And in the case of Jesus, his anger was the result of ungodly attitudes and actions by those around him. And in addition, if you look at the Old Testament, you know, one of the people's common hang-ups on God is that how can he cause so much disruption? Well, God the Father often displayed anger in the Old Testament when people sinned against him and when injustices took place in the world. And still today, when we see sinful actions taking place, when there are injustices around us, and there are many, many injustices all around us, it should cause righteous, godly anger to rise up in us, and then for us to respond well. So getting angry is okay, and it's needed in some situations. Okay? Love to hear any questions, comments on that. Before we move on, just a quick note on the upper and lower brain. I can't resist. I love doing anatomy at university. And what's crucial for me in all of this is that when we get angry, again, a perfectly normal emotion and reaction, is that we respond well, okay? And to do this, we need to engage both that lower emotion, lower brain, and the upper brain, which is about reason. If we don't, if we react and respond out of our lower brain, out of our lower emotional brain, we will react and lash out or be at risk of harming someone with words or actions. And it's something we all do. I see this time and time again, particularly my 5-year-old. You know, my boy is absolutely gorgeous. He's kind, he's loving, he is angelic some of the time and just lovely most of the time. But sometimes he goes from this angelic boy to a little, literally I see it, this little mini Hulk in a flash. And particularly when his little sister runs off with his favourite toy. And my job as a parent who sees this is not to react in anger back, but it's to notice his lower brain is controlling his response. And it's to help him learn to integrate the upper and lower brain, if that makes sense. So those emotions in him, I'm not to say ignore them or nullify them, but it's to engage with them and help him engage his rational thinking, his morality, what's God's best for him and others, what would be a response that would maybe get the same outcome but not hurt someone else? What would be an appropriate and fitting response for that circumstance? Okay? So it's all right to get angry, and that emotion is in our wiring and for good. I heard what someone once say, we can't choose our reaction, but we can choose our response. And I love that. We can choose our response. We can get angry, and then we engage the upper part of our brain. And that's why Jesus' response was good and needed. So I wonder, as we're listening and thinking about this, are there any places in our lives that our response needs a little health check? How are we responding in different areas? There's got to be something that you just think, do you know what, I'm responding a little out of whack there. For me, recently, I brought 3 parenting books. Me and my wife are going through them because our response to our 5-year-olds' tantrums and 3-year-olds' tantrums have not been that great. How are you doing with your anger management? The whole thing about race has been interesting, hasn't it? Because there's been this global reaction, and some have responded better than others, and I've loved that people have responded well. And if anger management is an issue for you, well, you're in great company. It's something we all grow in, and there's folks in our team, folks online here who'd love to chat and suggest a couple of things that they found helpful in this area. So if you think, do you know what, there's something I need a bit of help with, then why don't you send us a little message and say, hey, got any resources? We'd love to recommend some. But going back to this passage, why I love it so much is that at the heart of Jesus' response is his desire for us to know God fully. You know, that it's not through sacrifices that we buy our way into God's presence. It's not through best behaviour either, is it? Living perfectly gets us closer to the front row. No, it's nothing like that. It's the fact that we all have complete access to God, not by our works, but through the work of Jesus. It is through Jesus' ultimate sacrifice, and he knew this in that passage, that is what this is leading up to. It is through Jesus' ultimate sacrifice on the cross, taking our place on the cross, that we get full access into God's presence. God's word promises us that all those who come to the Father do so through Jesus. And that is not by our own works. We can't earn our way. It is by God's grace, undeserved favour. Regardless of our sin, Jesus has paid the price and invites us in. And that is the best news I've ever heard, and one that I want to grow my understanding and my experience every day. And what's even better, is we read later in the New Testament that it is our bodies, our very selves, that are the living temples. You know, what this means is that we don't need to go to a building to pray or be close to God. And you know what? We can't right at the moment in the middle of this big pandemic, very often anyway. Our very purpose on earth, this is how God has designed it for us is for our life to be a house of prayer. At the end of the day, that's what Jesus is paying the price for, that our lives are a place where he can dwell. It means that today we can pray to the God of the universe, who knows us and made us for relationship with him. God so loves us. He longs for us to know him, and yet it's so easy, isn't it? You know, just as the Pharisees and the religious people in this passage and of Jesus' time to miss this and to get distracted, it's so easy for us to get distracted that his best plan for us is for us to know him, and right now we can have a relationship with him. And that's what Jesus is so passionate, righteously angry that we get, that we can have a relationship with him, that we don't need to do anything, no sacrifices. It has already been done and paid for by Jesus. So as I come to a close, if you've got any questions, comments, whether you're joining live or watching at a later point, we'd love to connect, love to hear from you. It has been absolutely great to join in today, and as we continue through Mark's Gospel, my prayer is that you would know that God is with you, that God loves you, and that He has a plan for your life, and you can come to Him just as you are because of the work of Jesus.
Thanks, Jack. Wasn't that great? Is it okay to be angry? What did Jesus do when He got angry? He responded in the right way and He did not sin. I like that because I don't know about you. There are occasions where my temper has been tested a little bit and I may well have got a little bit annoyed in certain circumstances. So it's not just you, Jack, it's me as well. And I like the fact you went out and bought 3 parenting books to figure out how to deal with your 5-year-old and 3-year-old. And if you do find the answer on how to do that in those books, definitely let us all know. Okay, so what about you? What did you get out of this? What was your biggest takeaway? What was God saying to you? What do you feel challenged about? What did you learn from this? And so, as always, we encourage you to write that down, whether it's in your journal, whether it's in the comments below the video, just to write that down and just to process that. So to help you, to give you a little bit of space, because quite often, you hear these kind of talks, but you don't have a chance to think about it or process it. So to do that, what we're going to do now is we're going to have like a time of worship, as we call it in church, which is where we're going to play some music, which has been recorded by the fabulous John and Anna Grace Farrington. And you can either sing along, especially, if it's okay to do so, or you can sit there in silence and just let the words minister to you. You can do whatever you like. There's no hard and fast rule. Just use this as a time just to sort of process and think about what God might be saying to you, even if you've never really heard God speak before, even if you've never really thought of God or you're not really a Christian. He still talks to you. And so just sort of chew and mull on the words that Jack brought to us, the story from the gospel. What did you think to that? And if you feel brave enough, then write them down in the comments below and we'll talk about them afterwards. And I'm going to play this song. Now, this song is called When I Survey, and it is, it's just about a guy who's just looking at the cross of Jesus. And when he thinks about his life in comparison to what Jesus did, as Jack called it, the ultimate sacrifice, he reaches certain conclusions, which I think are just super, super powerful. And so just let this song minister you. Join in if you like, and I'll be back once this is finished. But just process what Jack has been saying and even what the words of the song may be ministering to you in relation to that. And I'll see you in just a few seconds.
When I survey the wondrous cross on which the Prince of Glory died, my richest gain I count but loss and pour contempt on all my pride. Forbid it, Lord, that I should boast, save in the death of Christ my God. All the vain things that charm me most I sacrifice head, his hands, his feet, sorrow and love flow mingled down. Did as such love and sorrow meet, or thorns compose so rich a crown? I thank you for the cross, I thank you for the cross, I thank you for the cross, my Lord. I thank you for the cross, I thank you for the cross, I thank you for the cross, my Lord. Were the whole realm of nature mine, that were an offering far too small, love so amazing, so divine, demands my soul, my life, my all. I thank you for the cross, I thank you for the cross, I thank you for the cross, my Lord. I thank you for the cross, I thank you for the cross, I thank you for the cross, my Lord. I love you for the cross, I love you for the cross, I love you for the cross, my Lord. I love you for the cross, I love you for the cross, I love you for the cross, my Lord.
It's an amazing track, that is. What an amazing worship song, When I Survey. And you just kind of, you think of your life in relationship to the cross. When I survey the cross, all of the wealth I have, all the riches I have, I count them but lost. Do you know what I mean? I pour contempt on all my pride. I mean, just language you don't hear these days, and it's just such powerful stuff. One of my favorite songs there ever. Beautiful version of it too. So thanks again, John and Anna Grace. So what did you think? What do you think about anger? And I was challenged when Jack was talking, because I think in my head there are three responses, right? There's the usual response, which is if I get angry enough. And it usually takes me a lot to get there, but I just blow, you know, like that video clip with this, which was just brilliant. But I'm like that, right? I mean, proper lose it. And I don't do it often, but when I do, it's like an eruption. But my response isn't always right. Doesn't mean I shouldn't get angry, but I've not done what Jack suggested that I do, which is bring the logical reasoning into the emotion. And then so the second response is how Jesus does it, right? He blows his stag. I mean, he totally loses it, but he does it in the right way, and he manages his anger, and he doesn't sin, and he mixes in with that emotion the right temperament and the right kind of thinking, and that is admirable, let me tell you, because, well, we can count on one hand how many times I've managed to achieve that particular scenario, let me tell you. So what about you? I mean, I don't know about you, but there's the third scenario, and this is perhaps the one which I think is the most dangerous in some respects, and it's the one where people who should be angry just aren't. And Jack talked about, getting angry at injustice, and Jesus getting angry at the wrong use of the temple. And there were reasons to be angry. And so they got angry, and Jesus gets angry, and God gets angry. This is not right. But so often, we were having this conversation yesterday, the Gen Xers of us, we don't get angry, and we just sit back and we do nothing when actually we should get angry. We should have that emotion. And so I think I've been guilty of the first one, and I've definitely been guilty of the last one, and I'm trying much more to achieve this Jesus response here in the middle. So what about you guys? Let's have a look. So let me see if I can add this to the broadcast. Yes, I can. So Sharon wrote here, years ago, I don't know if you can read that, but I'll read it out. Years ago, I used to think it was wrong to be angry. So I felt bad every time I was angry. But the following verses helped me realize that actually God expects us to get angry sometime. Remember that. And in some situations, anger is the right and godly response. But it's what you do with that anger that matters. Ephesians 4 verse 26, in your anger, do not sin. Do not let the sun go down on your anger. That is such wise words. And I tell you what, if you are married, if you're in a relationship, do not let the sun go down on your anger. Resolve it beforehand. Trust me, that is some top advice from scripture there. So what's Matt put here? My main feeling is sadness after being accused of doing something in anger. I wasn't angry in this instance. I highlighted this point, but previous experience of me by this person has had them jumping on me again in a negative way at a cost financially. Okay, I no idea what's going on there personally, but again, I appreciate that. Sometimes people do accuse us of being angry when we're not angry. And it's like, and they're using that as a statement, like you shouldn't be angry, as in anger is wrong, but anger is not wrong, like Jack was talking about. Our response in it is definitely what matters. So I appreciate your comments. Do keep them coming. What I'm going to do now, just before we do the notices, just as a slight different tack, is we're going to do this week's very short catch-up video. So here it is.
Hello and welcome to this week's Sunday catch-up. For those of you who don't know me, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Josh Edmondson. I am a student at the University of St Andrews studying theoretical physics. Bit of a mouthful, I know. Don't worry, it is not as scary as it sounds. Okay, actually that depends on whether you like maths or not, I suppose. If you've never watched the stream before, Catch Up is that part of the stream where we get to look at videos sent in from the community so that we just get to what we've been getting up to throughout the week. In usual fashion, I will kick off. So this week has been pretty full on in terms of work, just doing lots and lots of maths. I've learned what the equipartition theorem is, all kinds of exciting. Something that was really exciting actually that happened yesterday was this just randomly arrived at one of my flatmates' rooms. No message, no nothing. It took us ages to work out who this was from, but we just got these 4 boxes of food. It was amazing. It was like Christmas come early. That's enough from me. Let's get on to the catch-up videos.
Here's a sweet. Zoom out. Oh yeah, what a shot. And go. How good is that sandwich?
So good.
You said that without moving your lips.
Well, thank you very much for sending those in. I always love watching those videos. If you want to send in your video to be featured on Sunday Catch Up, send it to the WhatsApp message that you'll have seen throughout this service. Please do send in your videos. I love watching what you've been getting up to, and I'm sure the rest of the community does as well. It'd be great to see people other than me and my close family sending in catch-up videos over the next few weeks. So please do send me those. But that's all from me this week. I hope you are doing well. I hope you have a fantastic week. And I will see you next Sunday.
Okay, thanks, Josh. Thanks for doing that. And again, just to emphasize what Josh says, I know you watch this. Send him your catch-up videos because, that's what will make that catch-up segment work a lot better than just me showing you that we decided to do club sandwiches yesterday, which I have to be honest, were delicious. I mean, utterly delicious. So they were fantastic. Right, let's see what we've got here. We've got some photographs. So this is Sharon cooking while she's watching the live stream. So multitasking as usual, and I can't wait to eat that feast because it's going to be good. What else have we got here? This one I quite liked. Say to this photograph what you will. So this is John Harding and his dog watching the live stream. That is a gorgeous dog. I'm not going to lie. Love that dog. And John Harding is not bad himself. And then we've got, as promised, Matt Crew with the amazing shave all your hair off. So, sorry, I should have put a warning on that before showing it to the kids. So that was Matt without hair. And thanks for sending your photos. Thanks for all your comments. Thanks for being with us. I hope you got a lot of it. I hope you enjoyed the live stream. Every week, every Sunday at 4 p.m, we are here live on Facebook, looking at the life of Jesus and the amazingness of Jesus and thinking through what that means, how it applies to us in the 21st century, and what challenge that brings and how that impacts us. And we do this in a way that hopefully you can engage with it whether you have faith or whether you don't. We hope you get something out of it. My wife gave me a great quote yesterday by Ravi Zachariah, who said, what was it? We like to make believers think, and we like to make thinkers believe, or something like that. That's kind of what we want to do. I messed that up probably, but you get the sentiment. This is what we're trying to do on this channel, so hopefully you get something out of it. Please do stay connected with us. Do come back and join us next week. And if you're sort of midweek, if you're kind of thinking, well, it's just a bit too long between Sundays for church, well, guess what? We have something called Between Sunday, and you can see that on YouTube. You can check out those videos. And basically what we do is we do content which kind of expands a little bit more on Sunday's talk. And so last week I did a talk on transformational leadership. So there is a Between Sunday video on YouTube which you can watch, which talks about this idea of investing in yourself. And I asked the question, well, is that worth it? What does that mean? And what does the Bible have to say about that? And so you can find that and more on the YouTube channel. If you're not sure how to find our YouTube channel, just go to our website, which is Frontline City, which is underneath my name there, frontline.city. Go to the bottom, hit the YouTube link, and it will take you straight there. Yes, it will. Okay, that's enough from me. There will be no Zoom call this week. Just to let you know, if you're wondering if we're going to do Zoom call, there will be no Zoom call this week. But we will, like I say, be back here next Sunday at 4 p.m. So it's been great to catch up. Thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. Love you guys. Have a fantastic week. And stay safe. And we'll be back again. Oh, yes. Love it. Looking forward to seeing you next week. Bye for now.